ready? The Kornelia Stephanie Show. Wake up to love, your call to action. Join Kornelia as she empowers others to live heaven on earth. Kornelia teaches listeners how to be the authority over yourself, embracing your inner guru. Feel yourself uplifted into limitless expansion, integrating ease and grace in a changing world. This show will cover topics such as unconditional love, your physical body, how to be in extraordinary relationships, create financial and emotional wealth, embracing entrepreneurship in the new earth.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with you today and facilitate the Stories of Hope series here. I don't know about you, but anything that we can do to stay positive and keep moving forward and keep hoping and acting on positivity and new beginnings, that is what I'm all about. And I'm certain that those of you that are tuning in are also about that as well. For our first guest today is Amy Sanders. She's an entrepreneur at heart, and she's a master certified business and life coach. She's had ups and downs, but after leaving an unhealthy marriage and becoming a broke single mom, she didn't recognize herself or her life. After hitting rock bottom, she made some drastic changes, turned her life around, and has since created 5 successful businesses and is now a self-made millionaire. Since then, she has taught and inspired thousands of women through weight loss, mindset, relationships, and business. From her experiences, Amy has made it her life mission to help women uncover their purpose and expose their strengths so that they can create a thriving life they love. Welcome to the show today, Amy Sanders.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. I am honored and just excited to be here.
Totally. I'm so excited that you're here. And that, it takes sometimes a rock bottom situation that you found yourself in to shift your life and to transform your life and to really look at the ugly parts that are there and, what you want to shift and change. You were broke and you were, things were unhealthy and there were things that you were looking at. Do you want to take us into that story?
Yeah, sure. I'm actually going to take you before that story because that's what landed me in the story, which was from the time I was little, tiny. I was taught to just say yes, no matter what. Do not listen to yourself. Do not speak up. So I was shushed a lot. And then I was taught to just say yes, especially if they are male figures and especially if they are older than you. And so I got so good at being the good little girl and doing what I'm told, that I became like disconnected with myself because I was so good at not listening to what I was actually wanting or speaking up. And what that did was land me in an unhealthy marriage. I said yes to marriage after 3 weeks of dating. And I like to say that's how extreme I was. Like, who does that? I did that. And I did that knowing that I didn't want to marry him. I did that because I didn't want him to feel bad. So instead of him feeling bad, let me go ahead and just marry you. Like, what in the world, right? So that's where, things got uglier because even my body was making like all of the alarms, like, do not do this. I was sick to my stomach. Everything was going just, my whole system was alarming. And yet I still ignored it. So up to that point in my life, and probably since, that was my biggest point of self-betrayal, like the biggest self-betrayal I ever did. But as I stayed in that marriage, I was there for 11 years. 3 kids later, we were part of a very religious religion where you do not divorce no matter what. Like, do not do this because you will, it's like having like the scarlet letter on your head, the big D. And so I stayed in it a lot longer than I maybe should have. And I was really scared to leave. But at some point, I was like, if I'm a God-fearing person, if I truly believe that there is a higher power that loves me, would he truly say, yeah, stay in this unhealthy marriage and let's also let your kids have this kind of example in their home? So I was like, I don't believe that's true. And that's really where it started for me. Like, what do I believe and what can I believe and what can I do about it? So it's asking me those questions and then starting to uncover from there. That's my Cliff Note story. But
Yeah,
yeah.
I think that's so good because the when you were thinking about God and you were thinking about your religion and your faith and you were thinking about that and what you were told to do, and again then you looked at and asked the question, would God, a loving God, want you to suffer and want you to also have your children suffer? All these people here are suffering would God want that? And I mean, that's such a great question. Would God want for you to suffer, right? Because really, that's where we can really get a clear answer with where you said, no, God wouldn't want that. That's not what God would want.
Yeah. And what was interesting about it is that I was able to see the answer from that perspective. But when I asked myself in that place, like I couldn't come to that answer for myself. Like, what do I want at that point? Later that came. But at that point, I had to rely, okay, if I believe this, if I believe in him, do I believe he would want this for me? It's like I still was pretty far removed from what I actually wanted, but I knew I didn't want my kids to be in that environment forever. And my love for my kids and what I believed he would want for me, that didn't align with where I was. And so I was like, okay, what's next? What can I do? And that's when I started making those steps towards change and asking myself even bigger questions that are so simple, but they felt really, really hard, which was, what do I want?
Mm-hmm.
What do I actually want? And to be honest, at the time, like it was hard to answer that. Like I didn't even know what I wanted to eat for breakfast because I was used to serving everybody else what they wanted: breakfast, lunch, dinner, running around doing all of the things, that you're quote, quote, supposed to do as a mom and as a wife. But I like had stopped asking any of the questions about who I am, what I want, what I believe. And so that's ultimately like starting with, what God want this for me? Okay, what would I want for me? And getting super curious. And it took a lot of uncovering and it took a while, but I still ask myself all those questions, but it's amazing what has unraveled and how my life has completely changed by asking those questions and then doing the little steps along the way to build that self-trust again and to show myself that I can trust myself. I do have my own back and everybody can have their own back, but we do have to choose us and we do have to stay like either get back into alignment or stay in that alignment to where that channel of communication is open.
Yeah, it almost comes down to, first you were shunned down when you were a little kid, already, children you shouldn't have a voice, you shouldn't know anything, you shouldn't say anything, that whole thing, until you had to basically reclaim your authority back. And that is a constant process after giving your life force and energy away for so long. It's taking your authority back, that you do know the answer, that you do have the intuition, that you are connected to God. And it's possible that you and God's will merged in this, in this space through this discovery, by asking those questions. First, asking, would God want this for you? And then what is it that I want? And you would discover probably that both those two things are probably the same.
Yes, they are. But at the time, I didn't feel like it was, right? At the time, that seemed like I just didn't know for myself. But I like to also think of our souls as we are really, really old souls, and our souls have the answers, and our souls are, I mean, our souls are godly, right? So it's like, will we listen
Mhm.
or not? The choice is ours, but our body's going to talk to us. Our body's going to help us if we choose to listen.
So then you got help and you became certified. You said it took a while to get to where you are today. And of course,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's that makes sense. That, yeah, of course, it didn't happen overnight because there was layers. The layers needed to be peeled.
Yeah.
And we have to really be dedicated and committed to that path to discover what's really there. So it took a while, but you went and received help, which you were like, I want, life coaching. I want to really, educate myself and become better at this, and then help others do the same. So now you have 5 businesses. You're a self-made millionaire. Take us back to the first time when one of your businesses succeeded in
Yeah.
right.
It's actually crazy. So, I mean, everything started building. I'm a huge believer in multiple streams of income. And I've been through a lot of failures too. So I don't want to say everything, I made these decisions and everything just went amazing for me from then on out, so
Right.
no ups and downs for sure. But I remember the first time where we had invested some money from the different businesses into like one area. And since then, I also remarried. I have to say that. But when I remarried, I did not remarry for money. We both were still broke. So we had to build everything. I like to just disclaimer there. But I remember when we hit our first million from this particular business, and we had worked really hard, things then turned around and paid off. And I remember thinking that when we hit that mark, everything would feel different. And it didn't. Like
Yeah.
it felt amazing. Like, wow, I just hit this goal that I thought was impossible. And then I was like, oh my goodness, it's not impossible. And also, wow, I'm not done. Like I haven't even touched the work that I want to do in the world. And it actually has nothing to do about money. I thought it did, but it
Oh,
doesn't. It has to do with helping others and showing them what's possible and showing them that like you can absolutely change your stars. It's setting the intention, making the decision, and then just no matter what, staying the course. There's going to be up and downs. There's going to be failures. There's going to be all the things. But from all those quote, quote failures, it's just another opportunity to learn how to do it differently. It's like adapt, adjust, fail, repeat, flush out, And so it was an amazing feeling getting to that, like, whoa, this just happened for us. But at the same time, I'm like, oh, it wasn't what I thought it was. This is cool now. We have more power to do more, but that's actually what I want to do is more.
and also going back to the question, what do you want now? That's a continuous question to be able to ask. What do you want now? What do you want now? Because once we achieved something, then it's like that's not the end, because it is a journey, right? To keep evolving forward. I want to let 15 minutes goes pretty fast as we bring the stories of hope out, and definitely you are an inspiring force. I tell you, I would love to let the audience know how they can look you up on social media and how they can follow your work.
Yeah, I appreciate that. The easiest way is just my Instagram, which is Coach Amy Sanders, AMY Sanders, very American. And then my website's the same, amysanders.co. So that's the easiest way.
Yeah, it's wonderful when we keep things simple, because the world is really complicated. There's so many complicated things that we're all changing, that the more simplified that we can keep things and live our lives to support us, right, in creating the best life, which is what you're helping thousands of women do across the globe. So thank you for the work that you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show and inspiring us with your beautiful story. And keep doing what it is that you're doing.
Thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity. I appreciate
Thank you.
it.
Thank you. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show, everyone. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. Our next guest is Dr. Adeola Chukwumah.
Thank you.
Chukwumah. Sorry about that.
Oh, no
Thank you
worries.
so much for saying that. She's a pioneer in holistic integrative health, empowers busy professional moms to enhance their children's well-being through nutrition, and with a background in pharmacy and public health, Adeola realized the limitations of traditional approaches and started learning more about functional medicine. With over 2 decades of practice in pharmacy, she acquired various credentials and became a certified integrative health coach, focusing on addressing root causes for optimal health. As a mother who once navigated her son's health challenges, she understands her unique struggles that are faced by career-driven moms. Welcome to the show today.
Thank you. Thanks so much for having me.
Wow, this is such a great topic, and what an empowering story that you're going to tell us. So take us back to the time when your son was having, and how old was he, by the way, when he was having health challenges?
It started when he was 8.
Okay.
Yes, yes. He's 15 now, so it's been a while now. And, I think what's interesting is when I look back at some of my memories and life, there is a connection between a mother and her child. And I think there is a connection between people who are close too. So you can see that with best friends or spouses sometimes too. And I remember when I was younger in my 20s, I had a car accident and my mom had a premonition and she called and said, "What's going on?" And she just knew that something was wrong with her child. And so I didn't think about it. I was living my life and had my own children. And so when my son was about 8, he started out just kind of having some picky eating tendencies. I mean, we used to call him as a joke chicken nuggets because that was all he loved to eat. And all of a sudden, he didn't want to eat that. He only, wanted to eat like rice. Like it was strange. And I didn't think much of it. And it kept on. And then he started to have tummy aches and he would throw up. He would go to the bathroom. And then it started to impact me in the way that I would be at work and they would call me, "Hey, come pick up your son. He threw up again," or "He was at the nurse's office." And this kept on and it kept moving into some behavioral problems in class, like lack of attention. And so it was, it felt like a nightmare. Here I am trying to work and just be the best mom I can. And something is wrong with my child. And I just knew something in my gut said, there's something wrong. We ended up, visiting the pediatricians. They didn't know they wanted to give him medicine. We ended up doing some tests for different diseases. They came out negative. He did an endoscopy to try to check if he had H. pylori or celiac disease. That was negative too. And they were talking about perhaps doing surgery. And I'm a trained I'm a registered pharmacist by background, and I said no, we're not going to do. I had to be bold because I knew that something was wrong, and here we are with a band-aid, and it's not going to solve everything long term. And so I kept searching, and I found a functional medicine pediatrician who ended up doing some functional medicine testing. And what we found was he had a gut imbalance. So a lot of his bacteria were he was inflamed, and he had sensitivities to some foods. And we took out those foods and in 6 months, he started to get better, feel better. And in a year, everything resolved. And like I said earlier, he's 15 now and he's fine. But what I learned from that is, how they say children are sent for you to learn something, to teach you something as well. I didn't really care about what we were doing as far as eating and our lifestyles. But because of him, we had to change all that because everybody had to eat the same thing. So we took everything out for everyone. And I just saw a difference in just our health, our well being. And I started to learn. I got certified, took a couple of years by the Institute of Integrative Nutrition. And then 3 years ago, I started my business, The Wellness Keys, to help other moms like me who, at that time, I just felt so confused. I didn't know what was going on. And I just had to be bold. I had to remember that, what's best for your child. You are the advocate for your child and be bold to stand up to whoever is telling you otherwise. You're listening, but if you really feel strongly about something, you have to be bold. And then you make that transformation and change whatever it is for your health, for your child's health, and for your families.
A mother's connection to her children, right? Her son, a mother's connection. It's like, no, you're not going to cut my son open and have surgery. No, I'm not going to. No, we don't want that. There's got to be another way. My question came when now that his gut is healed and he is 15 and he's doing fine. And yeah, well done you for going through the process with him and then discovering a whole new line of work through it that you are now empowering, helping others with, being an advocate for, because it's not just the children, it's also the person. The person may be having a gut imbalance that's listening. The woman may be. might not just be the children, right?
Yeah.
So, but how we have to stand up and say, no, that doesn't feel right. I need to. So my question was when you were talking, I was when you said before he was chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets, chicken nuggets. Is it possible that the condition was created by the chicken nuggets?
I would say chicken nuggets and other things, whether
Okay.
it's soda, whether it's any type of processed food, because your body in our normal state, it wants to go back to balance at any
Yeah.
given time. That's how our creator made us.
Yeah.
And more studies are showing that there is a connection between our gut and many of the conditions we see, and especially our gut and our brain. There's what we call the gut brain axis, and it's connected by the vagus nerve, and you're moving hormones and other biochemicals back and forth through your body. So when we see a symptom, some type of, whether it's behavioral, whether it's, depressive feelings or anxiety or skin conditions, everything starts from your gut to some extent. And even for children or people who are diagnosed, there can be support by trying to get that gut, getting your what we call the microbiome, that balance of bacteria that we naturally have, getting it back to balance, and it can support all of those diseases. So I would say the answer is yes. We need to not be eating those chicken nuggets and
Because you
other
know what? Yeah,
foods.
because when you were talking about the chicken nuggets, because I have done some research on this myself, and I discovered that most of the seed oils that are being used, the oils that are being used to fry whatever it is they're frying in the restaurants and fast food or whatever, that is the oils is what's actually causing the illness. It's where our bodies is not designed to digest those oils. That's the beginning of the problem. And so, but we don't know that. We think that what we're purchasing from when it comes to our food, it is safe and it's fine because it is being sold outright. It's been approved by the FDA. And, so we're not thinking about that. So this is an important piece. And I'm just so happy that your son is doing well and that he's healthy. I'm curious as what is he eating today?
Yeah, so he's a teenager now. And we still try to stay on, as colorful diets, lots of vegetables and fruits, whole foods as much as possible. So foods that look like as close as possible to how they came out of the earth or how they came from the animal if you're not strictly plant-based. So we try to eat all of that as well. And, it is hard. Let's be honest, we're
Yeah.
in a busy society. Some of our young people, I mean, sometimes goes on a walk and he's like, oh, I'm just going to stop at the fast food joint and get something. So that happens. I'm not going to not say that doesn't. But I think the more that we can be as natural and unprocessed as possible, I think the better for us. And I think the other thing I learned through the process was that it's not just the food you put in your mouth. It's also what I like to call your primary food, which is your well-being, your spirituality, how you feel about yourself, how are your relationships. All of those things also have to be in balance because if you feel at peace, you're more likely to eat better. But if you feel anxious and stressed, then maybe you are going to go get those chicken nuggets. You don't make the best choices. So it's important to balance both your well-being and your mindset and your community as well as what you do put into your mouth. So we try to do that with him as well. We have lots of tools. We like to have meditation at home and stillness and just going outside, going for a walk instead of being on the games all the
Yeah.
time.
Oh God, that's a whole nother topic. Being on the games, that's a whole nother topic. What does it look like for a person to, let's tell the audience first how to, get in touch with you as far as how to find you on social media, how to look you up if you are there. And tell us that. And then what does it look like when a person wants to have a discovery call with you if you offer that?
Absolutely. So my website is www.thewellnesskeys.com, and that you can schedule time to chat with me there. I am on Instagram and on Facebook at The Wellness Keys also. So lots of information comes through there. And really, we start off by just talking about what is your lifestyle now and what it is that you want to change. And in the case that you do have some condition, whether it's a skin condition, it's behavioral ADHD, or whatever diagnoses, we kind of drill down because the point is to go to the root cause. And we might do some functional testing, or we might do a food elimination to try to figure out what is that root cause. And I work with you and your practitioner or your physician, whoever it is, nurse practitioner, whoever it is. And we just try to get you to make that plan for your lifestyle and your preferences and get you to optimal health.
That's so good. I just found out before I came on the show today, I was listening to a podcast, and I just found out that the largest and fastest growing industry right now is not AI, it is actually healthcare. That is the largest and fastest growing industry. So good for you for being right at the front of the largest, fastest growing industry. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Cornelia. I really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Kornelia Stephanie Show. I'm sitting here in my chair. I'm just so inspired. I hope that you are too by these amazing guests that we have on this show. Our next guest today is Azucena Garcia-Ferro, and she is born and raised in San Diego, California. She is a self-advocate with cerebral palsy. At the tender age of 2, she was diagnosed with spastic diplegia due to cerebral palsy, which means she has had 18 orthopedic surgeries in both of her legs and deals with muscle spasticity on both of her legs almost daily. She's the daughter of a Mexican immigrants who did not speak English at the time they received Azucena's diagnosis, which left them with many questions but very few resources in Spanish to understand how this diagnosis would affect her in the future. Thanks to this, Azucena learned the importance of having resources available in multiple languages, and she learned to advocate for herself and others with disabilities for an early age. Wow! Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited, and when you read, that little bits and pieces of what has been my life, it's hard for me to believe and look back, because those were very difficult times. But now that I reflect and look back and say, when my parents received my diagnosis, they told them that it was highly unlikely that I would survive because I was born 2 pounds and the next day I was 1 pound. And so the doctor told my mom and dad, she'll survive no more than 2 weeks. And so despite all the challenges, because I also grew up in a very low income community and my father died when I was 2 years old, so that left my mother by herself, not knowing the language. Here I am 36 years later with 18 orthopedic surgeries, having traveled 17 countries around the world and being an advocate for people with disabilities and trying to highlight that it is possible for us to create an inspiring life. Because many times when people receive a diagnosis that their child or family member is going to have a disability, we think the worst. But here I am to demonstrate that anything is possible when you have proper resources.
Yeah, when you have proper resources, it's so important. It's so important. I mean, all the odds were against you. Everything. You had already had the diagnosis of the worst kind. you already had no resources. You already had bilingual, you already had parents that did not speak in the language of the country that they were living in. And so there were already so many odds against you and against your parents, which was very difficult for them. How is your mother today?
My mom is so proud. My mom is doing very well, and I can say that of all the things that I have achieved, I am the most proud of having the mom that I have because I look at her and I say, Mom, how did you do it? But she was like, she turns and looks at me like, Azucena, you were a gift, and life is a gift. And there is no option but to keep moving forward no matter what. So I was gonna fight for you and your brother,
That
however long it would take me. So
Well, what a legacy you are for your mother, and just so much love for her, and also your father, who already at an early age wasn't present in your life, which I'm sure was difficult also for all of you.
yeah.
Difficult when you don't have a father in the household, and all the pressure and stresses on the mother. And how did she do it? The fact that your mother is doing beautiful, and she kept reminding you of what a gift you are. That's says a lot about where you are today.
Yeah.
And so how is your health today?
Thank you for such a powerful question because cerebral palsy is not a diagnosis, disability that progresses with time. So it doesn't get worse with time, but the wear and tear of having it, and in my case, spastic diplegia means that it affected mainly both of my legs. So as I get older, it's getting harder for me to move around, and I need to be constantly stretching and moving. Otherwise, my muscles get tight very quickly. So I need constantly to be moving and stretching and doing exercise. And I won't lie, there are days where I lie in bed and I cannot move and I stare at my bedroom ceiling and I just cry myself to sleep because the pain is so intense and I feel like my bones are made out of crystal. But there are other days where it's all good and wonderful and I'm like, yes, let's keep pushing forward. So it's a constant, it's no day looks the same for me. But at the same time, I'm grateful for having cerebral palsy, as maybe surprising as that may seem to those that are hearing this, is because cerebral palsy has given me so much. And a lot of those things are like compassion and patience and love for others, even though I may not know them, because I need that patience, I need that love, I need that compassion from others. And those are things that cerebral palsy has given me because I walk very slow, because I need that extra time the older I get. And yes, it's very challenging. My health, it, like I said, is like a Russian roulette, but it's okay. Life is a gift, and I keep moving forward.
I just feel such an overwhelming amount of love coming from you. I just feel that, just it just feels the love and the compassion. Also, what I love is how authentic and real you are being, saying it's not every day where it's great. I have my bad days where I'm not able to move. I mean, that says so much. And for you to still sit here right now and say, what I'm dealing with is a gift. I don't feel any victim energy that's coming from you, like, woe is me. And I'm sure there's times when that comes up, but you are rising above it continuously and seeing the gift that you are, the gift that this has brought you. We don't have much time left, but I can tell I would like to have a longer conversation with you. So we'll invite you back. But
Absolutely.
what question I have is, you are an advocate for resources for women, for people with disabilities.
Mhm.
So what does that mean?
That means that I do presentations and try to raise awareness about what cerebral palsy is in the Hispanic Latino community. And that also means that I launched my own podcast because I studied communication and political science at the University of California, San Diego at UCSD, my hometown. And I noticed that there's still not enough resources in Spanish for people and families to navigate, like my mom, 34 years ago when she received my diagnosis. So I said, you know what, why don't I just create my own podcast? And I interview doctors, some of the best doctors in the world that specialize in cerebral palsy in Spanish and English. And I also highlight the stories of people like me that are living with cerebral palsy, because I believe that if we want our world to be more accessible and inclusive, then we need to make our stories more accessible and inclusive to others. So my podcast, Parálisis Cerebral Respuestas, which is in Spanish, does just that, highlights people's stories and also interviews doctors. So all sorts of angles.
That's so awesome. Where can people subscribe and find that show? And then also give us your social media handles.
Yeah. Thank you so much for the question. Yes, Parálisis Cerebral Respuestas, which means cerebral palsy answers, is available on YouTube. So you can type it in, Parálisis Cerebral Respuestas podcast, and you can see the episodes, 20 episodes. And you can also subscribe on Spotify and Apple. Or if you want, you can also check out more about my story in my personal website, www.azucenagarcia.com.
So beautiful. I wish you continued wellness and success with your life and everything that you're doing, and may you continue on flourishing in your well-being and in your pursuit to educate and create those resources for people that need it. I think such a congratulations to you for turning your pain into passion, into purpose, and for doing what it is that you do. It's an honor to have met you.
Thank you for giving me the space and the time. It's been wonderful. Thank you.
So much. We're going to take a break on the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. My next guest today is Veena Chugh. She's a dynamic author, educator, and entrepreneur whose multifaceted journey bridges continents and careers. She was born in Mumbai, India. She spent over 2 decades as a corporate executive, while also imparting wisdom as a visiting faculty in human resource management at premier institutions. A certified yoga teacher, Veena seamlessly blends wellness with leadership. 7 years ago, love led her to the United States, where she now resides in Pennsylvania with her husband and their 5-year-old son. Her literary debut, A Pink Rose and Other Short Stories, has garnered acclaim for its depth and nuance. Currently, she's penning her second book while pioneering a family wealth planning business, committed to community service and empowerment. Veena's passion and expertise continue to inspire and uplift those around her. Welcome to the show today, Veena.
Thank you, Cornelia. I'm so honored to be here.
Thank you. When we were talking about what you want to bring out and highlight today, you said,
I want to talk about my journey, my battle with depression, and my message to the youth. This is a story, right from the time of my time when I was a teenager, and due to heartbreak and financial crisis my family was facing, I'd reached a point where I felt that I didn't want to live anymore. And there was this one evening where I decided to end it all. I waited for everybody to go to bed. I walked up to my balcony and I decided that I was going to jump off. And it's a very deep and emotional moment for me. But there were two thoughts going on in my mind at that point of time. One thought was that just end it, this misery and pain. The second thought was that what if this attempt is not successful? What happens then? Because then the life that I would have, which would be, maybe I become an handicap and I'm dependent, that's going to be far more worse. And I think that was one thought which I just allowed to, hold me on, and I didn't jump. I was 19 then. Fast forward 25 years after that, I'm glad I didn't jump, because the 25-year journey after that I've had, has been phenomenally great. I've traveled to 10 countries, 35 cities. I have worked in the corporate for 20 years as an HR leader. I'm a certified yoga teacher and a coach. I went and wrote my book. I'm penning my second book. So I have this message for the youth that you are going to be faced with that kind of a choice. And in those moments when you feel that weakness inside you, I just want them to remember that if I could do it, even they can.
Wow. I'm so glad that you didn't jump either. As a person myself who suffered from suicide ideation from the time I was a little girl, I had those thoughts. And many times over the course of my life was faced with the shadow of suicide, where that emotional energy for me to want to take my own life would become so big that that was something that I battled with for a long time. And so I too, as you, healed from not being successful and taking action on that. And you can too. So the thing that we need to remember, right, is that we all have those thoughts when the pain is there. You said that at the time your family was going through huge financial despair,
Crisis, yes,
crisis, right?
yes,
So that was what you were feeling like, I don't want to be a part of this crisis. I don't want to be a cause of this crisis, right? Like, I'm
yeah,
probably contributing because they need money because I'm here,
right, right,
right? So those are also probably the feelings. And suicide is a big thing right now. Suicide, I don't remember the statistics, but for the young people, there is many young people. And like you said, you may be faced with this. And the reason why we're having this conversation right now, and even for the ones that know someone that might be struggling with suicidal thoughts, to reach out. I don't have the suicide hotline prevention number, but they are there, and you can call someone. And don't make that mistake that Veena would have made, that I would have made, had we been successful with what we wanted to do, right, Veena?
yeah, I agree. I agree.
Yeah, it's a big deal. And because a lot of times I discovered through healing the suicide ideation, I had discovered that what it is that I wanted to kill really is that I wanted to kill the pain. I wanted to be free of pain. I didn't want to have to feel the pain. I didn't want to have to deal with the pain. And I couldn't see a way out. I couldn't see a way out. And because I just want out of here was the feeling, right? I just want out of here. It was just too much. So it's a miracle that we get to live our life here for a short time, that we're here.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's a miracle. You're a miracle. I'm a miracle. The person that's listening is a miracle. We are all miracles.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I just wanted to also add that, one of the things that I used to do when I used to get these heavy thoughts was writing. And the fact that, I have a published book is that my journey of writing started when I was depressed. And I used to sit and write all my depressive thoughts. I didn't know then that I was journaling. It was much later that I understood, because every time I wrote, I would feel free. I would feel some kind of lightness, some kind of relief. And so my message is also to all the youth and all people who could be battling this, is that, this is one way to pour yourself out, because sometimes you might not be able to get through that number. Sometimes you are not able to reach out to the person you want to talk to, right? They are not available or things like that. And So one way is just to write it all down, because that's very doable, and it's something that I have experienced it time and again. And I think there is a lot of research now that says that, when you keep journaling, once you start pouring out the good and the bad, it kind of frees up your space. And when you have space within you, you're able to create new things, because now you're off all that load or burden that you carry. So my journey of writing started with that, and how it became poetic, how it became into writing stories. That's another part to it. But so I feel the biggest gift my depression gave me was writing.
Well, I just want to say I'm an avid journaler myself, and that is actually how I healed myself. Also, we have that connection as well. And I think that's actually even a better, it's a more empowering way to go, because like you said, you might call the number, the friend may not be available, but you can grab a pen and a paper and you can put those thoughts on paper, because really those thoughts want to be expressed. That's the thing. And getting them out, that's the reason why we feel lighter once we put them on paper, because we can see them. And that's really where the healing begins. So well done, Veena, for bringing in the writing and the healing modality. Journaling is a healing modality. It heals you, because you are revealing to yourself your thoughts that you're thinking, what's going on inside your body and mind. I want to let the audience know about your social media handles and where they can find your book.
So my social media handles are there on the LinkedIn, and also on Instagram, and you will be sharing that as well, I think, in your description. And my book, A Pink Rose and Other Short Stories, is listed also on Amazon, and they can buy it on Amazon. So it's available. It was published 2015, so it's been in circulation for a while now.
Oh, good. Well, we should definitely become friends on LinkedIn. So we'll do that. I want to thank you so much for coming on the show today, Veena. It was wonderful to meet you and hear your story. And thank you so much for the work that you're doing out there in the world, inspiring people to heal. Thank you so much. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
everybody, for listening and tuning into the Kornelia Stephanie Show. We'll see you again next Friday. Take good care, everyone.
You've been listening to the Kornelia Stephanie Show, Wake Up to Love, your call to action. Tune in each week on Transformation Talk Radio. Kornelia's joy is to engage others in practical ways, showing us how to live in the new earth in harmony with our true nature. For more information on Kornelia and her work, or to listen to past shows, go to her website at korneliastephanie.com.